Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. I am Zam, and I'm going to be talking Game of Thrones season 5. Sorry, episode 5. And that episode, if I can quickly remind myself, is called We Light the Way. Now, in my opinion, Game of Thrones is back full on, baby. Another fantastic, excellent episode of Game of Thrones, and I can't get enough of the show. This show is superb. It's phenomenal. It's everything I want in a television show right now. It's not made for kids, which is something I thoroughly enjoy. I love violence when it's done right. I love nudity when it's done right. And I love the espionage when it's done right, and the shocks and the twists and the turns. This show just has it all. It's really good, and it feels like Game of Thrones. I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. Hello, Daniel Vance. Good afternoon, fellow geeks and dweebs. Good afternoon to you, Daniel Vance. So, I've taken down some notes as usual, and so we're going to just basically talk about some of the things I saw during the course of this episode. So, initially, at the beginning of this episode, we meet Damon's wife. Now, I do have her name here. It's one of those names that begins with R because a lot of these names sound the same. Right, Rina, or some shit like that. I mean, this was the first time we met her, but nevertheless, we saw her today, and she's riding around. She sees her cousin. They have a couple of words. She likes to do shit alone. She seems to be a very independent woman, just by the fact that she's able to hunt and stuff like that. And then she comes across Damon, and then when she says "hello, husband," that's when you realize, oh wow, that's Damon's wife, and she's a good-looking woman as well. I'm surprised Damon's got no interest in her whatsoever. She seems to, be quite independent, knows her shit, very strong-willed. I'm not sure if Damon likes that or not. It's hard to say yet with Damon because he's a bit of I wasn't necessarily an enigma, but there's more things to Damon than you realize. I mean, initially you think to yourself he's a crazy guy with a code, but then in reality, after this scene, he just happens to be a crazy guy because when he confronts his wife realizes something's off, and then she goes for her weapon, her bow, out of all things. Damon spooks the horse. She falls backwards. She gets crushed by the horse. Kind of reminds me of the scene of the king of Rohan, who gets crushed by his horse, and she becomes paralyzed from that. Damon can actually possibly leave her there to die, but she then mocks Damon for not being able to get his dick up, which is something that we kind of get an idea of what Damon's about now. He just can't get it up. And then Damon gives her the final blow by crushing her skull, I believe, with a rock. Something we don't get to see because obviously the scene transitions into somebody cutting some fish. And we see the King Viserys on a boat, and he seems to be going somewhere. I'm not so sure. I think he might be going to Essos. And whilst he's on that boat, or sorry, not necessarily Essos, but some sort of Valyrian stronghold, because he's throwing up. But we also know it's not necessarily due to that he's seasick. He's just sick. And during the course of this episode, we see a man falling apart. It's quite sad, really. So we get Otto, and it's the only time we do see Otto during the course of this episode. He speaks to his daughter, and he obviously, as we know from what happened last week, he's no longer Hand of the King because Viserys has kind of figured out Otto to a degree. Now Otto has put his daughter in danger by playing the Game of Thrones, but he's now warning his daughter, listen, if Rhaenyra comes into power, she will kill you and her son to make sure that she is the heir. And this obviously shits up Alicent a bit. So if I got the names wrong earlier, I do apologize. So yeah, it shits up Alicent, and Alicent is aware of this. So Alicent has had to grow up a little bit, and we do see that growing up of Alicent in this episode, in my opinion. So when King Viserys does land on this particular piece of land where Corlys Velaryon is, he doesn't get greeted by Corlys Velaryon initially. He gets greeted by Corlys's children, and we see Laenor fighting with this young man, I think training or whatever. And then we see Laenor's sister, whose name escapes me. we see her as well, and she's grown up. She's not the same girl we saw in the previous episodes. And Alicent, like, sorry, let me go back a little bit. Lord Lionel is now the Hand of the King. I think he used to be the Master of Coin. He's the Hand of the King now, and his son Laris, the guy who's like crippled with the fucked up foot and stuff like that, he's doing his little whispers when talking to Alicent, and mentions about the abortion tea, which you know from the Maester, which Rhaenyra got, you know, in the previous episode after shagging Kristen Cole. Now he's trying to play it coy to a degree and make it sound like he's just unaware of what the hell's going on, but he knows what he's doing, and he's sowing his seeds and he's making his alliances, so to speak, with Alicent, and he seems to be a lot more seedier than his father Lionel, who's now the new Hand of the King. And I think Lionel's a good choice for being Hand of the King. So Viserys finally meets his Corlys and his cousin, and there was a good moment between them all. His cousin, who is the queen that never was. I mean, when she holds Corlys, when she holds Viserys' hand, just by touching his hands, she realizes, hold on, there's something wrong here. He's missing a couple of fingers. She kind of knows that he's falling apart a little bit. They agree that their children, Laenor and Rhaenyra, will be getting married. There's a bit of dispute over the family name, but they come to a compromise where Viserys is happy to give the name of Valerian to the marriage, but if once they have a child and it's a son, that son will be a Targaryen, because the Targaryens have to keep ruling. And we do get to see Rhaenyra and Laenor having a chat with each other. I think they're basically saying, yeah, look, we'll get married, but we'll fuck who we want. Because we do find out that Laenor is gay, and we see him rumbling through the hay with his lover, who's the same guy he was sparring with earlier in the episode. And this friend of his, is also called Joffrey, which is just a coincidence, I guess. Now, after the king leaves, Corlys and his wife talks to the repercussions of their marriage, because it will bring down a lot of shit on them as well, because with Rhaenyra still possibly heir to the Iron Throne, and Daemon obviously wanting the throne, there's just so many variables they have to consider, and if they don't consider these variables, they could get fucked over for it. And you know, the queen that never was is just worried that, you know, something might come back to haunt them, but this is the world they live in, unfortunately. As they're going back to King's Landing, you know, Rhaenyra, her father, and all the King's guards and stuff like that, Kristen Cole had a private chat with Rhaenyra and basically says, look, I want to take you away with me. We can run away to Essos, start a new life. We can get married. And she kind of rejects him because she wants nothing to do with him. You know, like she wants, you know, not in the sense that she wants to avoid him or she's dumping him. Yeah, she still probably want to fuck him on the side, but she is, you know, bound by duty. She also wants that power as well. She knows where she stands in the pecking order of things, and there's no way that she's going to be giving up potentially being on the Iron Throne. Now, once they get back, Alicent, the Queen, wants to talk to Creston about certain things, and she basically wants to talk to Creston about Daemon, but Creston, to his stupidity, doesn't let Alicent, you know, say everything she has to say. And before she has a chance to mention Daemon, Creston thinks that Alicent is talking about his affair with Rhaenyra, so he just comes out, blurts out, and confesses. And then by doing so, Alicent is taken by surprise, but she is able to compose herself and say that's all to Creston and tells him to fuck off. But he, you know, Creston actually is willing to give up his life and all, but I don't think Alicent wants to do that as well. She's basically trying to keep her allies close, as you can tell by the course of this episode when she stops Creston from killing himself at the end, which I'll get to in a second. Daniel Vance saying the king can't be a true Targaryen. They're treating his necrotizing. I'm sorry, but I say that word incorrectly. Necrotizing falicets by cutting off the affected area by cauterizing it. You can't cauterize the women of a true Targaryen. They don't burn. That's a good point. Sorry, ear hole's itching here. I do apologize. It's a good point. Well, they don't burn, but I don't know. Maybe if their flesh is exposed. Yeah, it's hard to say. But yeah, good point. Very good point. Now, during the course of this episode, Viserys looked like he was dying, and then I always knew Viserys was going to not last the season, in my opinion. And it still hasn't been confirmed if he's dead yet or not. But I always thought that Viserys would be killed. But it looks to me that Viserys won't be killed. He will die of illnesses. He's basically a walking bag of disease right now, and he's trying to do his duty at the same time. The guy's coughing up blood, he's throwing up, he's pale as fuck, his body's falling apart, he's got legions on his skin. He doesn't look in great shape. So Viserys' death will be because he's just not feeling well. And I don't think it will be a stab in the back. So, by the way, Viserys is also accepting his fate as well. And he's while talking to Lord Lionel, he was like worried about his legacy. Will he be known as a good king? Will people remember him in the future? He's not necessarily a bad king from what we've seen of him in these few episodes, but he's not like a battle-hardened king either. He's not like Robert Baratheon, who will go out there and fight and stuff like that. He's very much into parties. So the wedding ceremony begins, and the Valerians enter to an applause. It was pretty much a cool entrance. Okay, you're looking forward to a second season. Let me see who you are, because I only got Facebook user. And you're Chris Ham. Yes, Chris. Yes, mate. I'm looking forward to a second season too, pal. It's been absolutely fantastic. I'm loving the show. I really am. It's blown away by it. It's everything you would want in the Game of Thrones television show, and then some. And it looks like they're doing damage repair to what they did with the end of the original Game of Thrones, which was terrible in my opinion. At the end of it, of course, the last couple of seasons. So, like I said, I did like the way that the Valerians entered. Round of applause. We're cool, motherfuckers. Yeah, it was really brilliant. But then Daemon comes in fashionably late, like a cheeky sod. But then Alicent comes in even later, and she's wearing green, the opposing colors of the Targaryens. But I think the Targaryens' colors are black, and she's wearing green, and she kind of like interrupts the king's speech as well by doing so. And the king's speech was basically about unison and stuff like that. But obviously, with Alicent wearing green, and she did that in front of everyone, she's kind of stating a message. We see Laenor and Rhaenyra dance with their lovers on looking. This was an interesting moment because, Laenor's boyfriend, he's got good instincts. Just by looking at Creston Cole, he immediately realizes that Creston is having an affair or likes Rhaenyra. He's able to like put two and two together, so to speak. And Alicent as well, once the speech is over from her husband, she immediately leaves the table and goes towards her uncle. She's making alliance with her uncle, her father's brother. She knows who to side with, and her uncle also said, "Don't worry, Old Town's with you. Old Town's got your back." So that'll be interesting to see. You can kind of see the lines being drawn in the sand between the groups. Not all the groups have been confirmed, but certain groups are being made. That's for sure. So, as I mentioned earlier, Laenor knows that Creston is shagging Rhaenyra, and he kind of tells Cole, "Look, I know what's going on. I know that you're having an affair with Rhaenyra, and I like." Joffrey mentioned that. Look, I like Laenor. We're partners, so now we know each other's secrets. It's best that we don't try to fuck each other over. And then Daemon and Rhaenyra start dancing. He butts into Rhaenyra's dance with some other guy, and they are like really flirting hardcore. And Rhaenyra says, "Look, I will run away with you. You take me away, pretend to kidnap me. I'll marry you on the spot." You know what I mean? And poor impotent Daemon, he's like, he doesn't know what to fucking do, and he's being he's being very sexualizing towards his niece, so to speak. Like grabbing her by the hair in a very lustful manner. He wants her, but once, like, and you can see as well, Viserys, he's like looking at everything that's going on, and he's eating his dinner. Like, he really forcefully, like, oh, I'm gonna eat this food. I got all this food. Had a party, invested all this chicken and stuff. I'm gonna eat it all. And then next thing you know, like, a ruckus happens, and we hear a lot of noise, and people are screaming, and we all feel like this is Daemon's doing. Like, he's done something here. But excuse me, as the crowd disappears, we see Creston Cole killing Joffrey, Laenor's lover. And he basically does like a mountain sort of killing on him, because he smashes this guy's face in. Like, he caves his face into his skull. He just repeatedly punches him. I think Laenor tried to fight back by pulling out a knife, but once he pulled out that knife, all bets were off. Daniel Vance says Daemon knows exactly what he's doing. He's 3 steps ahead of everyone right now. You think? I'm not so sure. I mean, he's a bit of a loose cannon. He's a lot smarter than. He's not as smart as he thinks he is. I mean, he took things a bit too far after the first episode, I believe, or second episode, where he mentioned, about the heir for a day. But then again, he wasn't being rude. It was Otto Hightower who grasped him up and made it sound like it was rude. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say what the hell's going on, to tell you the truth. You don't know where his allegiances lie, because he didn't like Corlys speaking bad about him, about Viserys, when Corlys was speaking to Daemon. At the same time, Daemon is such a loose cannon. You just don't know what the hell's going on. But Creston Cole, going back to Creston Cole, he smashes Joffrey's face in, like, repeatedly. That was, and the reason why, in my opinion, Creston Cole did this is because he's the guard of Rhaenyra. Like, even if he wasn't shagging Rhaenyra, if he was accused by that and this guy was trying to blackmail the princess, then that's his duty to protect her. And he did, you know what I mean, by killing this guy. No blackmailing for you, motherfucker. I killed you. And this is the funny thing, because, this guy's dead. This, as far as a lot of people are concerned, he's the best friend of Laenor, even though it's Laenor's lover. And you see Laenor, like, crying, seeing that his boyfriend's been killed on the floor. But the show must go on. And the wedding does go ahead. And earlier on, I mentioned how there was, like, I had a reminder of Return of the King, when the King of Rohan got killed. Well, I had a reminder now of Braveheart, because when the wedding happened and those two had to consummate their marriage by having a kiss, he turned his face to the side so Rhaenyra would only kiss Laenor on the cheek. And it kind of reminded me of that scene in Braveheart with the gay king kissing his French bride, and she only was able to kiss him on the cheek. Do you remember? Anyway, very similar in various ways. So yeah, he's unhappy. His boyfriend's dead. They still continue this marriage. It's a sham. Creston Cole now, he's going by the Tree of Woe, or the Weeping Willow, what the fuck it's called. And he's going to be doing some sort of Japanese sort of samurai type of killing. Is it Senpo or something like that, I think it's called, where you stab yourself. Like, he's ready to do it. He's taking off his armor. He's baring his chest, and he's about to stab himself. And then, boom, Alicent bumps in and says, "You know what, Creston? Stop that shit." And you can tell Alicent's doing this simply because Alicent needs people on her side. She needs allies. And Creston Cole will be her ally. Creston Cole, he's not perfect, but he does abide by codes and stuff like that. And even though he fell off the wagon by banging Rhaenyra, he still wanted to, make amends by doing what he thought was right. He was willing to give up his life after confessing to Alicent, and he was willing to give up his life just there and then after killing Joffrey. So we'll see Seppuku, the Japanese ritual suicide. Seppuku. Yeah. I was almost right. I don't know what I said earlier, but yeah. So Addison stopped him, and that's it. That was the episode. What a fantastic episode. There was so much going on in this episode from the very beginning, and then just the alliances. You can see when it's like watching it's like watching like a gangster film or a gangster show, like The Sopranos and stuff. Like, how steady are these alliances? Who's going to stab who in the back first? Like, is it, are you really friends, or is it just for the sake of convenience? Like, I mean, the moment that convenience is gone, or you have no use for that person, are you going to kill them? I mean, it feels very much like that, like when you see in gangster films, they go, "Hey, how you doing?" and they hug each other and pat each other on the back and shit like that. It's bullshit. They're trying to reassure each other that they're not going to fuck each other over, but they will. They absolutely will. And then some people are from the other end of the spectrum, like Kristen Cole, who took his vows a bit too seriously and ended up killing some dude, who was aligned with the Valerians. He took things too far, so to speak, and he did wrong. Yeah, the time jump is incoming. Sad to see the Princess and the Queen actors for the last time. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I did forget. And I wanted to bring that in. Unfortunately, Millie Alcock and the actress who plays Alicent, that's it. They're done. It's crazy. Like, we've got several more seasons of Game of Thrones. Of House of the Dragon, and I mean, I want to give the new actresses a chance, but I know a lot of people are going to go, "Oh no, I don't like this show." Now let's start a petition. Let's bring back Millie Alcock. Let's start a petition. Let's bring back the actress who played Alicent. Yada yada yada. All that shit's going to happen, isn't it? All that shit's going to happen because that's the sort of fucking world we live in. But yeah, we got to appreciate the show for what it is. A lot of people are praising Matt Smith, but Paddy Considine, I think his name is, who plays Viserys. For me, he's been fantastic. And by the way, he falls down at the end of this episode after the marriage is completed. I think he collapses, but he's so fucking ill. He's bleeding everywhere, throwing up everywhere. His body's falling apart. And I think he might have died at the end of this episode as well. If he's not dead, then he's severely ill. So we'll see how that plays out as well. Because with him at the scene, and if he hasn't, basically put all these particular effects into law, and he's died before he's announced certain things, the same way, Robert Targaryen kind of died before announcing certain things, which led to the death of Ned Stark because he never fully announced for Ned Stark to be taken over. As far as everyone else was concerned, Joffrey was going to be king when really Robert Baratheon wanted Ned Stark to kind of be king, so to speak, and run things, but that was never fully announced. And with Viserys possibly dying or dead, if certain things he wanted to happen hasn't been fully announced, then people are going to just say, well, this was supposed to happen. No, this was supposed to happen. Yada, yada, yada. And boom, full on Targaryen war. The Valerians versus the Targaryens. You can see that happening. It's interesting what side Alicent's going to take. And in a way, the Valerians and the Targaryens are kind of I won't say that word. I'll say a more simple word. They're together by marriage. So are they on the same team now? Is it Alicent and her son Aegon Targaryen who are now, as far as she's concerned, supposed to be the new king because it's the ritual, it's how things are done traditionally, or they're going to stick with Rhaenyra being queen because that's how things are done, under the law of Viserys before he died. Who knows? I mean, everything's going to be told next week, I guess. Well, some things will, but this show is just moving at a breathtaking pace. Like it's really refreshing, actually. Like, the show knows that it still needs to be Game of Thrones, but it can't play a slow, long game like previous Game of Thrones series did. It's moving things at a decent pace because people are impatient, but it's still giving us that same Game of Thrones vibe. The death at the end, fantastic. Had that red wedding vibes. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So all I can say is that this It's been a phenomenal episode. I'm going to mark it now. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. It's very hard for me to give tens. I'm not the type of person to throw one willy nilly, but a 9 out of 10. I mean, wow. My mouth is watering for next week already. It's sad that certain people are going to be going, but the show is bigger than a couple of actresses, in my opinion. And the funny thing is that people always die on Game of Thrones. So just imagine they're dead and they've been resurrected into these two people. Who knows? That's a stupid way of putting it. I do apologize, but you know what I mean. Like people come, people go. That's Game of Thrones, or House of Dragon in this particular sense. But I'm loving it. I really am. Fantastic show. Daniel Vance, what are you giving it? What's your rating for it? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Because it'll be nice to know, mate. It really would be. I was supposed to do this whole review with somebody else, but they haven't gone back to me, so I'm doing this alone. But hopefully, you enjoyed the show as much as I have. For me, this is like of all the stuff that's on television right now, all the mainstream stuff, Star Trek Lower Decks, She-Hulk, Lord of the Rings. I think Andor's coming out this week as well, and Andor's got a lot to do in order to beat this particular episode. I'm finding so far Game of Thrones to be House of the Dragon to be the best stuff on tele. Okay, so you're giving it a less generous mark than I am, above average, of course. I give it a 6. I like the political side, but eager for the war to begin. Yeah, me too, mate. Me too. Well, hopefully that war will begin soon enough. I'm just loving this. I knew from the moment this episode began with Damon's treachery towards his wife. Excuse me. This was going to be a cracking episode, and it was. And so much of this episode was just based around the wedding, which was also really, really cool. It's it's really good. Like I always said, I thought the Game of Thrones ship had sailed. After watching the trailer for House of the Dragon, I thought, oh my god, you can't be doing this. You ruined Game of Thrones. People haven't forgiven HBO. They don't want Game of Thrones to come back in a different capacity with a whole new bunch of characters and stuff like that, especially a prequel where certain things have to lead to certain things. But boy, was I wrong. Ever since I saw maybe Better Call Saul, I think prequels can happen. Yeah, prequels can be done really well. There's nothing wrong in prequels. Yes, certain things have to fall into place, but it's the journey, not necessarily the destination. And I feel like we're having a really good journey here. I really do. This show is fucking brilliant. I can't get enough of it. Game of Thrones had perfect symmetry in the final season. Arya went west, Jon went north, Drogon went east, and the show went south. Yeah. You know what I find fascinating? You ever seen the map? Let me pull this up. Game of Thrones map. Let me find a decent one. Okay, so here's a good map. I'm not sure how much of this you can see, but this is the known world. This is they're like this is all they know. Like the people of Westeros, maybe this is all they know of the world. And I'm not sure if I'm doing this map any justice. Let me see. Let me see if I can bring this a bit closer. Is that better? 。 So there's a land of always winter where the free folk, the wildlings, live. There's the wall and stuff like that. Westeros, whole land is Westeros. King's Landing is there. And this is Dawn. This is where people like Kristen Cole comes from. It's a bit sandy here. Those are the stepstones over here. And then boom, this whole land here is Essos. And you got Ortos and Sothorios. And these are sort of like hot jungly areas. Now, some people say that Ortos and Sothorios might be the same land, but nobody's really been down here before, which is a bit weird. You would have thought they'd discovered that by now. I think Naat, or how you pronounce it, is where, you know, the translator girl, Daenerys' friend, she had her head chopped off by the mountain, and she was dating that Dothraki, not that Dothraki, that guy with no dick. Yeah, like she's from this island, I think. They get a lot of slaves from there. So you got the Shivering Sea up north, and you got the Sunset Sea, sorry, the Summer Sea in the south. It's got some vibes of Europe around here, but we know how big the world is. This is all they know of the world. There's so much shit south of here they have no fucking idea about. There's so much shit east of here they have no idea about, but they've never gone that far. It's fascinating. And people have gone west, you know, left here is the Sunset Sea when you're going west. But no, people have traveled for miles and miles, days and months, and never come across anything going across the Sunset Sea. But the world should be circular. I mean, this is what it's stuff like Game of Thrones that probably make people into flat earthers. But nevertheless, they should be going circular, and they should end up maybe on the east side of this particular land here. Yeah. I find it fascinating. Now, you mentioned in something about Elizabeth Olsen here. Rumors will see young Melisandre next season, played by Elizabeth Olsen. She and Henry Cavill. Wow, that's a big deal, man. I mean, personally, I think Henry Cavill should scrap the Witcher series, because the Witcher series is fucking shit. It doesn't kill enough bloody monsters. I don't know about season 2, but season 1, we had him kill some monsters at the opening of season 1. He hardly did any monster killing after that. It was just bullshit. With the time jumps as well, it's just bullshit. But Henry Cavill is made for Game of Thrones. I can see him in knight's armor and stuff like that for sure. You know, he can be even a mountain type character as well. He's very big. And you know, Elizabeth Olsen playing Melisandre, that would be brilliant. There is a land, by the way, on this map. I think it's called Ashai. I would love to see this land here, Ashai. I want to see that land in House of the Dragon. I really do. You know, like, you know, Daenerys, when she was doing her travels through the lands and stuff before she ended up at Westeros, she was in places like Karth. You know, and then she went obviously further and further west till she ended up in Westeros. But I want to go to Ashai because Daenerys met somebody from Ashai. She was like this woman who had this sort of chain mail face veil. Sorry, it's like a chain mail face veil. And this person was from Ashai. And Ashai apparently like a very dark city. It's been there forever. People don't know who built it because there's no history to the city. It's rumored to be quite magical. There's lots of buildings, but a lot of the lights are never on, and there's no children. No children at all. So yeah, it's interesting. So, but yeah, I want to see more of this universe. You know, there's more to Game of Thrones than Westeros and parts of Essos, and we've hardly seen any of Essos. Or if we have, I can't remember, but it just feels like we've only seen Westeros. I want to see more of this world. I really do. I'm desperate to see it. I want to see stuff happening here. I want to see a Game of Thrones show happening at Leng, you know, and Yin and Yi and all this sort of shit. That's what I want to see, mate. You know. So anyway, I apologize for babbling on. You know, just trying to stretch things out. But boy, do I love this show. I love it so fucking much. It's my favorite show on the telly right now. I can't get enough of it, and I look forward to the next show. What are you saying about Telltale Games, my son? Here we go. Try playing with the Telltale game. Yeah, I've got it. I've got it. The one where you play as, is it the Thatchers or something like that? You know, they got ironwood and all that shit. Yeah, you play. There's like two brothers. You play as them, and you play as one of the sisters as well. Yeah, I've got that somewhere. It's okay. It intermingles with some of the stuff that's happened on Game of Thrones, like when Joffrey dies and all of that sort of shit. Yeah, it's not too bad. All right. Let me know what you think of this episode. I fucking loved it. I keep repeating myself. I fucking loved it. Some of the best stuff on telly right now. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube. Thank you, Daniel Vance, for being my co-host this time round. Much appreciated, mate. And don't forget, as I said earlier, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. And we'll see you guys for Andor this Wednesday. This Wednesday, baby. Andor. Can't wait. Day after tomorrow. Take care and end the fucking monarchy. End it now. God damn it, today. Today was so fucking crazy, mate. The whole fucking country shut down. Even you couldn't even go to a fucking McDonald's. It was like bloody Christmas Day today. It really was. Everything was goddamn closed because of some fucking monarch no one knows, but everyone gives a shit about. End the fucking monarchy. Save my fucking taxpayers' money. Don't give it to a bunch of inbred blue bloods that no one should give a fuck, and that everybody shouldn't give a fuck about. These people are a fucking menace to society. They're sucking the fucking teat of benefits. They take everything from us and give us nothing in return. They offer nothing. We have a cost of living crisis, for fuck's sake, in this country. People can't afford to heat their homes this winter. You know, everything's going up but our wages, and we spent millions on this goddamn funeral. Millions. End the fucking monarchy. End it now. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye-bye.